So today is May 7th, and we have the PBA collective bargaining. So why don't we go around the room for the record and introduce ourselves?
Christopher Smith, Escambia County Corrections.
Zach Ward, PBA Vice President.
Alan Miller, Chief Negotiator for Florida PBA. We're missing Lacey Corona, who had a previous engagement, and Zach's sitting in for our president, who's actually in the hospital right now.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
So doing okay, but he's there. So that's our.
Lloyd Dipple, Escambia County Corrections.
Lonnie Wilson, Lonnie Wilson, Escambia County Road Prison, working in it.
Jason Santos, road prison.
Austin Dennis Wells, Escambia County Work Annex.
Scott Ward, Escambia County Road Prison.
Scott Nash, Escambia County Jail.
Sean Higgins, Escambia County Jail.
Rich Powell, Chief Corrections.
Janice Dill, HR.
Janice Gilly, Administration,
Nikki Powell, Clerk of Court Finance.
and Kristen.
Mule with the County Attorney's Office.
Crystal Ladura, HR Manager.
Very good. All right. We have the previous articles that we provided to you. We'll provide them to you again today for conversation and consideration. And then we do have some wage proposals to discuss with you. We'll also discuss a little bit about the state's incentive, and then we'll also discuss what we would consider a recruitment performance incentive from the county. So first of all, why don't we get started on the ones that we've previously provided you. Are these the
Do y'all,
times?
I wanted to ask first if y'all had any calendar proposals from us from the last time, because we submitted a couple articles, or just any calendar proposals from any of the articles that are still open.
I'll be honest with you, we really haven't gone into those proposals that in any depth
Okay.
because it's been so long.
Mm-hmm.
I do have one thing I'll give y'all that I did because there was some concern about salary surveys. These are current numbers from all the local areas that are near us and their pay. Don't look at the state corrections because their sign-on bonus was huge. It's $7,500 for the state of Alabama.
Yeah, I would say that's not Florida.
And those are current numbers as of Monday of this week. Santa Rosa's is very self-explanatory. Okaloosa, they start off at 1818, and they start an incentive at 3 years. And if they have 3 years of experience, they get a 3% additive to their pay, up to a maximum of 10 years and 10%. And no sign-on bonus there. Walton County Corrections starts off at $37,500, and they have the steps that are self-explanatory, and a $5,000 sign-on bonus. State Corrections, Florida DOC is $33,500, and they have a $1,000 sign-on bonus, whether you're certified or not. Of course, when you accept those sign-on bonuses, there is a contract you have to sign for statement of usually it's about 2 years of employment. And of course, Alabama Corrections starts off at $38,697, and sign-on bonus is $7,500.
When did they pass that?
It's all over their website. And they're in the process of building some mega prisons
I did know that.
in some of them in the Atmore area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did.
Okay. I was gonna say, just gonna check it out. Okey-doke. All right, well, here, what's one of these? These are the ones from last time.
These are the ones from the last meeting, proposal that were just, that discussed the boot in addition to the boot and shoe allowance. through that and see if we can finalize the 2 articles that reference it. That would be helpful. And then, like I said, I can actually print out all the open articles and the last proposals that we sent you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
That 46 hours, what the fuck is this?
If y'all want to take a minute just to read through that. Kristen, I handed out Article 11 and Article 19.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Would you guys mind passing around a sign-in sheet just so that I can eventually get everybody's name on the minutes?
It's already been going.
Thank you.
You know the number of certified employees that each one's comes in,
No, sir. I don't, but I know that Walton is probably, since they have our 100 over there, probably have closest to us.
Yeah, 36.
Yeah.
And down 36.
We're down 36, that's awesome. But they're, I think they've done a federal initiative over there trying to,
They swapped our inmates out.
yeah, oh yeah. And I had to pat Sheriff Atkinson on the back. He's built up a,
No, we built it up.
I'm not talking about his jail, but I'm talking about his, how do I say this politely? He has a conglomerate, because he has EMS, he has fire, he has dog pound, all that is under him, is what I'm getting at.
Is he in code enforcement too?
Yeah, code enforcement.
That code too.
Yeah. Well, there was a move at one point in time, put code under the sheriff, but then things happened, and well, Sheriff Nesby ran from it because there was a lawsuit that popped up. Can't blame him. But Okaloosa probably,
I mean, I know the jail inmate population, so I'm just correlating
Yeah.
that with what their certified positions
Yeah.
probably are. I mean, the largest one in here, I believe, is
gonna be Walton.
500 plus inmates.
Yeah.
A third of what we got.
Yeah, a third of what we got, but they're paying a third more.
That would replace that third.
But yeah, we're familiar with the uniforms and the, and that other policy.
Just to let y'all know, on Article 11.04, there is a change that needs to be made where the road division, prison division needs to be changed to work annex. So,
Change to what?
Work
Work
annex.
annex. Work annex. No, no. That's why it's.
questions or discussion points on either of those articles?
No.
So we know that y'all wanted to discuss wages, and of course, we have a wage proposal and the kind of things that Ms. Finley spoke about earlier. But we would like to make some headway with some of the other articles as well. So if you all want, I can give you all the open articles in previous proposals and give y'all time to look through them and see what points of question you may have on any of them, or points of clarification or any suggestions, kind of go through everything. Or we could go through it all together. I mean, it's y'all's preference.
I mean, if we want to walk through the contract, I don't have a problem with that. As far as us, we've already put the stance out there. Us signing off on anything's going to depend on the wage offer. And I know y'all are bombarded by other entities for that, but those other entities aren't leading like the jail is. And as you can see, whether they're in smaller counties, they're killing us. We actually have people that are leaving here going back to state. And the way I know that is because I recruit them back to the PBA when they go back to state.
Are you referring to the ones that we separated, or they leave?
No, these weren't separated, no. The separated ones, I've told other people, there are people who have separated that have deserved to be separated, okay? That some don't need to be in corrections,
Got it.
and I won't argue that point.
Who's left us that went to the state, by name?
I'm not gonna give you their names.
Okay. Is that why I'm saying I see all the paperwork when they leave,
Yeah,
and I know what they're leaving for?
yeah. But they're, of course, they're like everybody else. They relax their standards as much as we have. Of course, they never did a CVSA, they never did any of that. And we dropped a PAT test, we dropped a CVSA trying to get people in. And when you get them in, then there's the retention issue. These young ones that have no life experience, they're not used, they may go through the academy, but then when they get to a facility and you lock that door behind them and they don't have the key to get out, they get a dose of reality real quick. Yeah. They're holding it hostage. And then too, the federal government right now is paying people more to stay at home than they are to come to work.
That's the case.
Since I know it's been a minute since we were at the table, I printed out, it's just one pagers to kind of show where we at. What's in blue is denoted as what's been previously TA'd, and what's in black is what is currently open. The articles 11 and 19 are in blue, and that's only because they were previously TA'd, but of course we amended them to add the shoe allowance. if there's any of those open articles y'all see on there that y'all would like to discuss, I can either print out the whole packet for y'all, 27 pages, or I can do it by articles. Of course, the salaries article will change because what we have is a proposal for you all today.
So move.
Well, Article 3 won't be,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's in general provisions of the association rights.
I can have them pulled up on the screen if we all want to go over them together. Or if you're like some people and you want to touch the paper.
It's okay though, I can look those.
Here, I'll send them to you, Crystal, and you can pull them up. If you're logged in there.
No, just,
No, I'm
the
sending.
And if you notice, I gave you copies that were hole punched.
Yes, I see that.
That's because
And I appreciate it.
that's because I accidentally bought a ream of hole punch paper. But
You're not special.
yes, she is. I know one of the things in Article 17. I mean, that's going to be one of the albatrosses in the room.
Uh-huh.
We can start there.
Hold on, Crystal.
Uh, 1703. We've come to find out hasn't really helped at all. Although the compromise that we will do is the day of rest stays, but the officer may work it at their choice.
So we allow them to make that decision.
Yeah, we allow the officer to make that decision. They're doing it right now because of the emergency situation. We have evolved at it because we wanted to see too how much it helped. Unfortunately, with the people running out the door.
You said it, but it's not a true statement, I'm sorry. I just
Well,
wanted to make that.
people leaving.
People leave through normal attrition, and the
Yeah.
only people that leave without being forced out the door are onesies and twosies every quarter.
Okay.
There's a whole lot of people leaving and doing investigations, and that's.
Well, that was the last one that I know of. I know there's others that probably have left there too, but we're still, how many
In
officers?
5 weeks, we lost 11 officers.
Why did you lose those 11 officers, sir?
Someone retired early because they don't want to work because they can't get any
That's their
leave time.
That's their personal.
Yes, that is their personal, but they were planning on working longer. They just cannot get any leave time because we don't have the
When
staff.
somebody's eligible for retirement and they choose to exercise their retirement, that's their choice.
It is their choice, but it's being made for them because they can't get the leave time. I'm just going to explain it in simple terms, okay? 5 years ago, we still had the day of rest. We had enough staff that I could take my wife on our 25th wedding anniversary overseas. Now we're at 30, I can't take the day off. I can't even get the day off. If I'm not already off, I can't get the day off. We're missing birthdays, we're missing special events, anniversaries. I mean, if a good friend of mine way out of state passes away, I can't get really the leave time. We don't have the staff. I mean, it's as simple as that. And these people, and I know them, they talk to me going, hey, I would have planned on staying 4 more years. But I can't get any time off.
Again, that's their personal choice.
Yes, it is their personal choice, but they were planning on working longer. We just don't have the people.
So we should employ them so they can take all the leave, or?
No,
it's
we,
their job to
no,
come
no,
work?
the thing is we don't have the staff we used to have.
Let me ask you this, sir. How many individuals, because we brought up the other day, right, so let me just go ahead and have this conversation. How many individuals are not at work today because of day of rest, on average? You know that number?
I'm not an admin. I do not have.
Okay, but you're talking about vacancies, and you're talking about people not at work. I will tell you that there's anywhere between 5 and 10 individuals that should be at work today that are not because they're taking their day of rest.
And we didn't have that problem 5 years ago, why do we have it now? We've had the day of rest for how long? As long as I've been there over 11 years.
But I'm telling you, that's why you've always been short-staffed routinely. Because 5 to 10 people today should be on the schedule, but they're not.
But 5 years ago, we had that same thing,
And you
and
were working
we could go.
extremely short every day.
5
Every
years
day.
ago.
Every day you were extremely short because of day of rest.
Then how did we get leave time 5, 6, 10
You
years
went
ago?
deeper in the hole every day.
I was arguing about the staff and we are lower, I mean, Alan just brought it up and gave us a piece of paper. I mean, why aren't all these people offering sign-ons? Are they not short? Is the
Oh,
state
everybody,
short?
it's a national
So
shortage.
it's not just us,
No,
right?
no, no, it's
So
national
You understand that, it's not just us, it's everybody that's short on staff.
understand that.
Well,
Okay.
Yes, I can share my screen, so I can control it from here, I know that she could.
But anyway, it's obvious we're gonna agree to disagree with the chief on that, but that's our counter proposal on that one. And I think it's a very viable one.
Well, and I would say this, I mean, I think we've kind of been saying this for a while. I think there are a number of factors, right,
Yeah.
as far as why we don't get, nobody disagrees that you guys have probably the hardest job that the county has. At least you do get applicants that do try and come work with you. I can't get 2 people to come work at the animal shelter, and we have tried to increase their wages. We are getting some people now to apply for code enforcement, but I'm sorry, I should give you the exact number, but it's a couple hundred vacancies at the county, probably the most the county's ever had. And we all know that there are national and external sources that are the reason for this, in some instances, I would say that. And I think part of the other problem that we have is you have occupations that require training, okay? We have people that don't really want to train for anything, whether it's EMS or corrections, or even, like I said, animal service, animal welfare, because you do have to go through training for for those jobs. And equipment operator, we just have people that don't really want to go to training. They think that a job these days is I go put in an application and I just go work. Well, I mean, that's just, it's an interesting phenomenon to me. I never thought in my life I would see in America where people didn't want to have skills, trades, and work.
Yeah,
But that's where we are right now. So,
can't argue that point.
yes, so
Will not argue.
the other issue that we have though is that we do have commissioners that are very supportive of you, but they are also very interested in not raising taxes.
Oh, I get that.
All right, so you know that puts us as administration in the position of trying to make sure that we manage a budget with the resources that we have. So we have that issue. Now, I will tell you that I don't have what Walton has, which is they are very, very property tax wealthy, smaller population, right? So
Condos.
that 5,000 sounds great.
Well, we're not asking for 5,000.
I understand, and we're gonna have something to provide you. But I guess all I'm saying is that I would like us to work together as a team to try and resolve this, so that people can go on 30-year anniversaries, or go to a kid's birthday, or go to whatever the celebration is. It is breaking our heart that you guys are not getting that time off. We know it, we hear it, we understand it. But I gotta tell you, I got people burning out in every occupation, probably not in the same type of difficult situations that you guys have, but in almost every single one of my departments. Because since COVID, we didn't shut down, so you guys never shut down, but this county didn't shut down. These people didn't stop working. There are places that might have, but we didn't. We continue to provide those services to our citizens. So, and what happened after that is now people are not coming to work, and so our people are,
Why would they just stay home and make this money?
yes. So it's a difficult situation, and I think we all realize I never expected to see anything like this in our country ever. So now we have the other added component, which is the inflation of the positions. You know, we have people that, we have jail medical leaving for numbers that I can't even possibly, I couldn't even make them up, even if I tried. We had somebody leave for $20,000 more, yesterday in one of our departments. I mean, I would love, it's an excellent employee, I'd love to keep them, but I have a, you know, a balance. And then if I do that for that one person, how do I do it for the other? So I know you understand the situation, but I would love for us to try and find a way to come up with a solution. The commissioners support you, but we also have fiscal restraints. So we'll talk about that piece in a minute. But you wanted to talk about this, is that where we are?
Yeah.
17.3?
Yeah,
So
17.3.
the note that I added there, is that accurately reflect y'all's position?
Yeah. The day of risk remains, and the officer has a choice to work it, because there's a lot of them that are working it. But it may get to a point where they want to take it. And I know they've, you gotta have people there to work, because we have a mandatory post. There's no doubt about that. Been there, done that, know you've got to have X amount of people there. I know the captain and the commander, I think y'all said they could take a day in a month trying to help them a little bit, because, you know, and granted, it's not just Escambia County that's short. There was some misstatements yesterday in the board meeting about closure of prisons, and it's actually was going to be consolidation of some prisons that are close by. Both are staffed at less than 50%. So if you can take those two prisons, and they're also less than 50% inmates in them, because they have shut so many dorms down so they can staff it. If they bring those two together, then they consolidate it, and they have a prison with 90% staff.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. And
Well,
and
but
it-
in all fairness to him,
Yeah.
he was actually in Tallahassee, and the senators who were proposing it told him
Yeah.
that they were talking about closing.
Yeah.
It wasn't until about 3 weeks later it became consolidated. So in all fairness to him,
Yeah,
I do
because
know where his source
they were
came from.
misunderstanding, I think, what Director Inch's
Yeah.
plan was for that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they say, well, we're going to close this one and put them all here. But they missed the second half of that sentence, and if we get to where we can, we want to open both facilities back up. Because, I mean, you know, I'm sure that and the 80 inmates that y'all have waiting to go to state prison, that may be an under, huh?
It's down in the 20s.
Down to 20s. But I know at one point in time, it was probably over 100. 83 was the highest. But, you know, they were holding fast because you had the COVID blooms at their institutions. So I get it. I mean, 700 and something at Century. And you know, their officers were saying the inmates were giving it to them. I'm like, well, somebody from the outside had to give it to the inmates, because you inmates don't go anywhere. So,
Well, all
But
right,
anyway.
so we'll still continue to tweak that language. I'd like to continue to tweak that language. All right, what's another one? Where was that leave redemption? 13, I thought that 13.
Yeah.
Oh, that was,
The leave redemption incentive program.
it was, I believe it was in F. In the event of an officer's death, the BCC agrees to pay the officer's designated beneficiary 50% of all the unused sick leave. And we were wanting to add, if it's in the line of duty, that they get 100% payout.
Can I say something on that?
Please do.
By law, it can actually not go to the beneficiary. It has to be made out to the estate, which is practice, and that's what we've been doing. We do need the wording changed in the contract, and I do think that Kristen has updated that wording. Because by law, it has to be made out to the estate, it cannot go to the beneficiary.
And that-
Anything additional that you're wanting to add,
Yeah.
you can add additional wording, but any payout that is from the leave payout, by law, has to be made out to the estate of the employee.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, that's the league, that's the law, you have to go with the law. There's no question about that. But I just think if an officer dies in the line of duty, the more that we can do for them, the better off.
Yeah, any additional wording that you add would be above and beyond, but just that specific payout has to be made out to the estate.
Yeah, and been updated, so I'll pull it up.
Yeah, to the officer's beneficiary in accordance with, okay, but this one was,
We offered it as a separate, it's going to be engraved in here, or engraved, or we offered it, so she's already pull it up or print it out.
oh, well, you're saying it's not in there. Because we were memorializing the office.
So with F, does that, I mean, does that make sense? Is that the change in language that's reflected on the screen, is that gonna be immutable? Yeah.
Well, it's still showing 50% instead of 100 in the line of duty death.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're fortunate, this language will never be utilized. And that would be that's my goal, to never have to pay that out.
All right, we'll put it down.
Let's start, yeah, I was gonna say, let's just go start at the top. So 1 and 2 have been, TA, 3 duration, we'll get to do that. Do y'all wanna look at general provisions? That's the general provisions article. Goes all over. So if we go look at 4.01, is there anything there that seems got questions about? I have it pulled up on the screen as well.
I don't think we had any issues with that.
The servability part of it.
Yeah, just typical stuff.
I would say there wasn't a lot changed in
There,
here.
there's just some changes.
Bigger.
There you go.
I'm just spreading all of it out.
That whole down.
Might be questions on 4.03. The C has some changes.
No, that's pretty much standard. If you strike an MOU, it's included in the next contract.
All right, anything with 4.04?
This one is.
Yeah.
And no strike is the standard English. All right, 4.06, that's new language. Overlay the law.
Okay.
Any questions about any of those?
No, not in
Is
full.
that the end?
Yep.
The four? Okay, so maybe we can do.
So do you think we could TA that? Article 4?
Temporarily,
That's what the T stands for.
Tentative, okay.
yeah.
So, if we're gonna TA that, I will go ahead and hand that over.
We can do the signing in a little bit.
All right, I'll set them aside and we'll do it then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Article 5, the association rewrite.
Yeah, I have some concerns in 510, and it may be contained somewhere else, and I have just missed it. But at 510A2, a current copy of the BCC rules and regulations, which affect terms and conditions of employment by the agreement, shall be furnished to the PBA as they occur. Why would we strike that?
So the language was changed to a current copy of any BCC rules, regulations, or policies applicable to the officers covered by this agreement. Changes and updates shall be furnished to the PBA as they occur.
And
That's there. So what was your question? Sorry.
I'm looking for it because 510 is completely lined out on mine.
Well,
Number
it's struck the
one,
first
yeah,
paragraph,
yeah.
or you wrote it below it.
Yeah.
Just clean the language up because it was repetitive.
So if you look up on the screen, that's what it looks like now, where it says a current copy, BCC rules, regs.
Okay, because I'm just going by the copy that I was given on the August the 29th of 2019.
Yeah, we did June 11, 2020 is the updated one.
Yeah.
Do we give you a hard copy of that one?
We can in a bit. Do we even have a bulletin board?
Well, yeah, it's all now. It's all available in
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we don't have to give everybody a hard copy because that'd be,
Now that the county's covered, we're all on Power EMS. It's
Absolutely.
all there.
All right, do y'all have anything in B?
no, my next one's gonna be in B of 513B. Yeah. I know we amended it to 6 people. And the board's gonna provide a 120-hour physical pool. We just never had an issue with it before. Because our negotiations team is not going to do most of the disciplinary representations. It's going to be our board of directors. Reason being, we try to keep employees themselves from being between an employee and management, because we're human and it can create hard issues. So that's why I do probably 99% of them at the jail, and ones I can't do, one of the directors will do. And we just try to strive to do that. Plus, it gives us a level of confidence between everybody that's involved in it. But anyway, y'all got an issue with that?
So are you saying 6, are you saying 6 is not enough?
No, 6 is plenty. I mean,
Okay.
I was just curious why we.
It was at 4, that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, 4. We went to 6.
Yeah, we went to
I was just the hours. It just, we never had that before. So.
The union specifically asked for 6, that's why we.
No. I'm talking about the 120 hours, Ms. Kristen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But the 120 is similar to others, right?
Yes, that's the highest amount that we have in any of the other contracts.
Okay. If you're trying to.
That we have had with the county.
Yeah, that's fine.
Any of the county
Never
contracts.
scrutinized ours, so.
Uh-huh. But that's fine. I was just pointing.
All right.
Is there anything else on that one? Make sure this is.
The rest of 5.13, there's some other changes, so.
I think those are just to clean it up a little
Yeah.
bit.
And then the last part of that article is just 5.14, member separation. And again, it was just cleaning the language, saying the same thing, just in a different way.
Yeah, that's just y'all letting us know that they're not gonna have dues deduction anymore.
So are we good with Article 5?
Yes, ma'am.
Executive retention. Okay. I got it.
All right, so the next one is Article 7, internal investigations and disciplinary action. There's no changes, so Part A is 7.01, Part B, change it to reference the specific statute.
Yeah, that puts in, instead of spelling out the entire 112, it just references 112, which just puts off the Bill of Rights.
And when 112 changes, it stays current.
Yeah.
Right?
Correct.
You don't have
Yeah,
to
because,
change it.
I mean, had changed just last year.
I'm gonna say, did, yeah.
Yeah. All right, what about rights of officer under investigation? 7.02.
So here's a
Same
question,
thing.
why would we even bother with that? Because 112 drives that.
Well, this does basically say that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, it's repetitive. We're trying to choose other ones. We're all 112s and contact themselves and that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good with how they've changed it there. I don't mind them staying in.
All right, so what about the 7.03? Well, there, that's the same article, or part of the article.
Yeah.
Are you okay with all of 7.02?
Yeah.
Okay. So 7.03, investigation of complaints. That whole article.
On B, it's one I think a lot of us will have an issue with, and I think probably the commander and the captain might even chime in, and that's anonymous complaints that are called in, you know, unless they're, and I think it says in here they have to be clear and convincing for it to go forward.
Yeah, what we've been doing lately with those, that we would know is I've been authorizing inquiries and those investigations.
Yeah.
Just about, just to ensure that there's no crease to any of the accusation. And then if they find something, then they
Yeah.
look at the investigation.
Yeah. And I had it underlined, and the language clear and convincing is in there, which means there has to be something substantial to move it forward.
Correct.
Yeah, and you know, the legislature passed it where you can't do an anonymous complaint. It's not related to you guys, but it's related to, like, I think building services or something. So legislature ain't putting up with anonymous either, so.
No.
You got a problem signing your name to it.
Yeah, I agree.
And now, that being said, I haven't done an IA that came from an anonymous complaint at Escambia, so.
All right, what about the changes to Part C? Again, it's more just referencing the applicable statute.
Yeah, they gotta change it. You had 24, you got
Yeah,
it.
but 48, yeah.
48, yeah.
See, we listen. And then Part D was added in, and again, it's more a statute reference.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any other parts of the 7.03 before we go to 7.04, which is the disciplinary action?
Just in,
One of the additions.
no, I don't think it's, just when we, report to FDLE, do we report it after the, PDC is done?
Until, and we don't send off a statement that the investigation is completed and the initiation of written discipline.
Okay.
And then anything that's overturned, we adjust from there. That's a follow-up letter.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, y'all do a bang up job with investigations. I'm not, y'all aren't my favorite department to discipline, don't take this the wrong way, but when I get disciplinary actions from y'all's department, it is my favorite because I almost never have questions, because it's done so well and so thoroughly.
Yeah, we need to move Champ. Nah, I'm just kidding. I love him to death. He follows 112 by the book,
He
and,
does.
and that's all I can ask of an investigator.
It's very important. All right, so the disciplinary action portion of it, any questions there?
I thought we were doing away with any discipline.
Oh, you want us to take it out? I'm happy about taking it out of the article.
No, it is what it is.
All right. Were there any parts about that that y'all had questions on or concerns? Yeah, there's,
On the discipline side of the investigation.
Which do we flip to? We got
C.
704D.
Yeah. C and D. I mean, that spells out the
forms of
progressive discipline.
order. Which that's in my already.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the change that y'all asked for in D was the officer may request that our representative attend the hearing.
Hey, let me just make sure, because I don't want you guys to miss this. If you go to C, there's language in there.
Yes.
Which I brought forward before, and it wasn't dismissed. If you go to the last page, last C where it says that we have the discretion to remove leave balances in lieu of suspension, so they get a 24-hour suspension. We can just take the leave rather than have them sit at home and pay overtime for it.
Oh,
Because
I don't think any of us are in disagreement with that.
No, I just want to make sure, just draw your attention, because we talked about it, and it kind of died right there.
Yeah.
It's just a lot cleaner. It still gets impacted,
You still lose.
it's on the record,
Yeah.
but it doesn't impact the guy's
You're not
opinion.
Well, no, and that's better, he doesn't lose any money.
Still loses.
Because if the state, if you are suspended the first day of a work cycle, and they're on a 20-day work cycle,
Yeah.
if they suspend you the first day,
No, you can't do that.
you get to go home and not have to worry about working extended work day, or high vacancy rate days, or
Let's look at
overtime.
it like family.
Yeah.
Maybe on the first day of the work week?
Just maybe the first day.
Yeah, because, I mean, we're all in agreement that discipline's a learning thing,
It's
not a
corrected.
devastating.
Yeah, it's supposed to be corrected in future. Is there any other portion of that, article in its totality that y'all had questions, comments, concerns? Yes, sir.
The only thing I'd like to put in the C there was suspension, and that same thing we just spoke on, Mr. Lee, is that not included sick time, that we don't take from their sick time. So if they don't have anything on the books except for sick time, they're going to the house.
So just be put accrued annually, because that's the.
Annual
only
leave,
thing
holiday
they
comp.
have.
Holiday come, yeah. Just if, rather than list them all, we just say excluded sick time.
Okay. I'll make sure of that.
Maybe it's the way I read it. Letter F, an officer who has not completed the probationary period and achieved regular full-time, if he's not completed, how could he achieve full-time? Am I reading that wrong or not? Letter F,
What this means is if Johnny or Fred is in the probationary period and there's not no investigation, but however, during that investigation time, they go in, they complete the probationary period, they're gonna be disciplined as if they were probationary.
gotcha. He is on- he won't be on that. If it happened while he's on probation.
Right. Sometimes it does still take a little while.
Oh,
No, we're pretty good, but, no.
It's not the officer's fault he made permanent status.
yeah.
Huh?
I said it's not the officer's fault he made permanent status during that investigation.
We go straight to
Not our
probationary
fault
and release and
either.
do an investigation.
Yeah, that is.
Well, no, see, that's a threat.
No, I'm offering that.
No, that's a threat.
All right, do we have any more questions or anything about Article 7, or do we think we're good? I noted the exclusion of sick leave, so they won't be penalized that way.
Was that for, let's see, 7.03G?
C. Thank you.
See.
Yep, C, the suspension without pay portion.
It's the fifth line down, that's the part of the sentence.
The BCC shall have the discretion to deduct hours from employees' accrued leave.
Change to 112. It's not correct. Probationary employees are entitled to 112 hours.
Oh, yeah, part-time too.
Okay. And I take notes of all this, Kristen.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we've given you 11.
Yeah. Did y'all have any questions on 11 that we gave to y'all at the forefront? Because again, it was just changing the dollar amount from 120 to 150, and then of course the note about park annex.
The change for the 150 was Article 19.
Both of them, 11, we had to change the work annex number from 120.
Okay, I saw the work annex, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we added the D for everybody else, right? Yeah.
My question on the boot allowance,
Or on Article 11 or 7, I didn't say.
19.
19 out of it.
the 150, are you gonna pay that lump sum?
Now, what we're gonna do is come up with 3 that Gauls carries and get the order to supply. That way, we're not dealing with taxes, and they went ahead and order and have it managed through our supply session.
I was just curious, because the reason I asked that is because through some of our other contracts, they allocate it out on an hourly basis throughout the, or $10 a month or something like that.
For us to put in our supply budget for
So, you're saying that we're gonna be able to order it like we do our uniforms?
it. Yes, it'd be a
Right,
piece.
so, then why does it say reimbursement based on providing proof of
Yeah.
purchase?
Yeah, we-
When I saw that,
Okay.
I said we need to clean it up.
Okay.
And we looked at it, it'd be easier for us just to identify 3 or 4 boots in the Gauls catalog that fall underneath that.
Okay.
It's not- Change, no different.
Well, and the other reason why we were talking about doing that was we didn't want anybody penalized if they needed special boots. You know what I'm saying, like,
Special
is it
size.
on, yeah, special
Yeah.
size or anything?
Now,
So that catalog's gonna, those 3 or 4 you're talking about,
Typically, the Gauls would order.
you know, they're gonna be able to order extra wide or whatever they're gonna need from that guy. I haven't seen the catalog, so I don't know.
I'm not going to see that dollar, contract dollar value.
well, and one question, because I know we have a policy of replacing 4 items a year. This is in addition to, correct?
Yes.
I mean, that's a valid point that Chris
And
brought up.
that just give us both of, there are the outliers, and we've got a few people with size, 16 foot, that may go over, that will make that exception, and based off of.
Yeah.
Or size 5.
You get those free.
But, or the wide, I mean,
Yeah.
or the wide, you know
Child,
how.
the child section.
Hey, I can shop for child section. You know, the tennis shoes aren't cheaper. Like the Nike brand, like the brand tennis shoes are not cheaper in child size. So like anything. All right, so just to be clear on Article 11, we're making the change in C to take out the reimbursement basis because again, we're doing how Chief Powell stated, and then again, we're making the same change in Article 19 in Section D of 1901. Go with that.
So you're saying like you're gonna go through Gauls?
That's what we order our supplies.
And-
Or
Yeah,
whatever.
we can just say,
Yeah, because
That you get a
they'll have a
shoe allowance.
variety, because there's some people that, and I'm dating myself when I say high-tech boots, which are similar to what the,
It has to be somebody we've got a PO with.
Yeah.
Dogs we've got a regular PO with, and that's where we draw the majority.
and then
So now-
some people like the tennis shoe style, so.
So this is like, are we gonna plan it on like the anniversary date or whatever? I mean, it doesn't have to be in the contract, but I'm just asking for a little
That's typically
clarification.
what we do with all the
Yeah.
uniform issues, so that's the things.
But that's a question we will have to
We
answer.
do.
you're gonna get 500 pairs at one time with this, that's good
okay.
though.
That's okay.
No, that's good. I hope there's somebody to make them at a factory. You know, you can't buy a truck right now.
No
They're not rolling them off of,
Chip
You
shortage.
can't get a rental car, I know that for sure.
yeah, you know why? Because they sold their inventory to pay because they weren't getting anybody rent because nobody was traveling. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, that's really what happened.
If you traveled anytime during the pandemic and you went by the airport, there was probably 1,500 cars parked out there.
Yeah. My car got hit by a school bus a couple weeks ago, and it's in the shop right now, and they gave me dude, I live on a farm, this thing's gonna be full of hay and seed, I just hope you know it. He said, that's all I got. I said, okay.
I was thinking the soccer mom.
Yeah, yes, that's exactly what I want.
She looks just like
on
her
mine.
soccer mom, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we talked about 13 already, and we made note of the 100% paid out upon if it's in line.
Yeah.
All right, was there anything in 13 else aside from the duty part, on duty part, in the line of duty? That's what I'm trying to say.
I think that was it.
It got before. Okay, so we need to talk about it right now.
Yes.
And then, and then if you are amenable to it, we'll look at making that change in Article 13, but also adding what we discussed last time here about the leave redemption incentive proposal. And so that is essentially allotting up to 96 hours of buyback on the leave, the annual leave, versus the 80 hours that everybody else in the Rolling Color gets.
As long as 100 hours.
Yeah. So the stipulation is an employee may sell a minimum of 9 hours and a maximum of 96 hours of annual leave per fiscal year as long as 100 hours remain after the annual leave is sold.
Is that the beginning of the fiscal year or
Is that
at
usually?
the end?
Which article are we looking at?
It's gonna be integrated in Article 13. We gave it to you all as a separate proposal last time. I can make a copy of it.
I got a copy, but I just didn't know what it was gonna be.
Sorry.
So instead of it being at the will of the county like it is currently, when you offer it, you're actually gonna put it in the contract, giving the employees the option of doing that.
It says the payout of annual leave shall be contingent upon the availability of funds.
Yes, that's the BCC's approval.
Is that gonna be,
When they look at the end of the year, when they say, okay, we can afford to pay out X, then that's what your cap will be.
It says the
Upon
BCC
approval.
shall determine by December 31st of each calendar year whether sufficient funds are available to permit the redemption of annual leave. Request for redemption of leave must be made, by September 30th of each year. Because it coincides with the
So
fiscal
to
year.
answer your question, is it guaranteed? No.
Well, that's what I'm saying, you know, right now, it's not
It's a
guaranteed.
Maybe.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, why are you
Guaranteed me.
saying no?
Well, because it's upon, the statement says upon approval of BCC.
Which is what we're currently doing, it's not on the contract, we want to put it in the contract as a maybe.
No, the differentiator here is the county
96.
employees do, 80, and we did it 96
Okay.
for you
Upon
all.
approval.
Correct.
Okay.
So, again, yes, it's still, again,
So
we
when
said earlier
so
that
when it's
happened.
offered, are you saying, so when it's offered, we have the option to have
take
more?
one.
Do more, yeah, okay.
Yes, you do have that, and then the other thing is, the reason why the time frames are set, because it does coincide with the new fiscal year, but we usually do our fund balance, and we roll forward, like January, so that's why they would vote by the end of the year, by December 31st. So we try, quite frankly, to get it to you all before Christmas, but it kind of doesn't
Poor
work
payroll.
out.
Sometimes
It's
they
not
do it-
payroll's fault.
Sometimes they do it twice, Christmas and then at the end of the fiscal year.
well, at the end of the fiscal year,
Yeah,
they're
it's
paying.
been January.
But the end of fiscal
Okay,
year
but
is
January
holiday.
makes more sense, because that's when the credit
That's
card
what
bill
it is.
comes in.
That's exactly what I said,
Just saying.
credit card bill.
All right. Article 14, replacement of personal property.
Uh, Part of Article 14 that was stricken was the weapons. Since the officers are required to, for the most part, unless they're in transportation or something like that, are y'all issuing weapons to anybody else?
My goal, yeah, we still have the Army for you. My goal is to get rid of personal weapons
And have everybody assigned a weapon?
as we can.
Yeah, and I get that. It solves qualifying with a 9 and somebody walking up with a 45. But in the meantime, we just want to make sure, because I know it says the designates out final reimbursement of value of items other than watches, that if something happened,
I don't know how you destroy a lot, other than, 1,100 degrees.
Well, it could have, there were some weapons, I think, left in the gun locker at CBD, but I think they were able to, ATF let them go get them, but there was a possibility that plus the armory and central control, there was a period of time nobody was allowed to go in there. And within the first 3 days, that building shifted 6 inches down, so ATF left the area.
Does this happen often enough to be an article? That makes me sad.
Well, no, I'm just making sure that it would be included if.
If somebody in the normal act of their duties, their weapon gets destroyed, other than maybe one of our guys on K-19 crossing the pond and comes off and ends up in the bottom of the lake.
Yeah.
I don't know how you destroy or, the weapon gets damaged.
I guess you could run over it.
I hope not.
That's their own fault if they run off the gun.
I don't want to miss that.
You might have other issues.
I can't make it.
We're doing it. All right. Oh, was there any other thing?
Do y'all, are you wanting to still discuss that, or?
Well, no, we just want to make sure that it's at the discretion, that it would be included in the discretion.
Yes,
That's
Risk
all
would be
right.
the
That's
other.
all
Yes.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
All right, so we're good with that. Moving on. All right, we already talked about Article 17, which is the hours of work and
You'll
overtime,
get it
so we
back.
got the day of rest noted in there.
Ain't going down the tape.
All right, so Article 18, that's callback in court time.
We'll start handing ours.
So hours of work, callback in court time, were there any questions or comments concerning that?
Yeah, we're not in agreement with taking the 3-hour minimum for somebody who goes to court.
A,
The 3 hour
or A.
A.
Yeah,
Yeah.
take out the 3 hours minimum.
Somebody's, if you gotta go to court, if you gotta come in for something special, you gotta get up, you gotta get dressed.
Well, I bet that hadn't been used much this past year, has it?
No, they've been there. But court time, even though corrections doesn't have to go to court a lot, there are those cases where people are battered and they're there. You can be there anywhere from 15 minutes to
4 hours.
4 hours or more. And that's a standard number in our contracts is 3-hour callback time.
Would you think, because I choose a standard that is used in terms of guarantee for other, so would y'all be amenable to 2?
3 guaranteed. I like 3 guaranteed, at least 3.
Okay, well, we're verbally counter offering to our own.
We're back at 3.
Okay, well, we're not,
I'll make the
we're not
note,
in agreement.
I'll make the note. All right, that's for the part A. What about B?
Now, that being, B's fine. If it's continuous, within that first hour, then it's not a callback time issue, it's continuous. We've never argued that. And if it's, I think there's one clause when it's officer hasn't completed their duties like they were supposed to, then that's on the officer for having left before prior to completing their job.
What about C?
Yeah, that's what we said, we're in agreement with that.
All right, so what about the rest of it, so 1802 full time? Which there wasn't much change.
That ties into the 3-hour callback time.
All right, right, 23, deferred retirement option program.
Drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's just standard in terms of, you know, making the reference to the statute. Because again, statute changes.
Yeah, we still want to be able to, that we're allowed via the county to sell that time back. That's what we're doing. Strike that.
That's the one I want to change it to 20 hours. We can do it all in one because, you know, it's going to be
Yeah, it's not
fine.
I think it maximum amount of time, so.
Right, exactly, yeah. It's like, I mean, if you want to.
That's my sheet. Yeah.
I'm trying to find the draft.
So she just referenced.
23?
23.
Let's, roll back to, 21 real quick.
Well, 21's gonna be, well, I mean, okay, I guess we can discuss the article itself, but we have a waiver vote.
Well, if you want to discuss it later, that's fine.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine. We just,
Yeah.
we just,
All right, so with 23, you're okay, because we say we're referencing the BCC policy manual, which is what letter B is. We're just cleaning up language.
okay, the BCC policy manual says officer can sell that 500.
That's what I'm checking. These guys are saying that it does, but I want to make sure.
You said
This
500?
doesn't say they can still have
It shouldn't say 500.
400.
400.
5 sounds better.
Well, state statute says 5. You can
I
sell
said that's
that.
what she made the reference to the statute. So
Yeah, the
it's
statute's up
policy.
there.
Yeah. I mean, you only
Oh,
have,
statute.
you can, technically, except for the verbal agreement that we entered into for the leave right now while we're in, the staffing issues. Since y'all graciously have said you're not gonna take anybody's leave during this period of time. But I had to send that email to
We
protect them.
understand that.
So there's a possibility they could have 500 hours of that, but they could have 400 hours of annual leave on a normal time and then 100 hours of holiday comp and sell back and get their 500. So that we just want to make sure that that's what is in the
The
policy.
intent.
Yeah. Because that can drastically affect the average compensation of a couple $1,000.
Well, not that,
Statute's
Yeah.
policy. The county's policy.
depends on the grade rate.
Free from it.
Depends on the grade rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's authorized.
Well, at the end of their career, I'd hope they'd be. I'd hope.
So we should be good.
So are we good with 23? 23?
It references statute, which they say is 500.
It also references policy.
So we're not gonna delete the whole.
Discuss if there's conflict between statute.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not gonna delete the article, but we're just gonna say as per state law under that article.
Okay, Kristen, do you hear what we're saying here about Article 23?
Yes.
Can you clarify, because the policy is 400 and the statute's 500, so the language as intended, would they be paid out 500 or 400 hours a week? No, it was 500. I'm just clarifying, because I don't.
Oh, that's fine. And some people won't realize it, but if they do, if it comes back a 96-hour sell back,
Kristen, are you
In
looking
a
that
year.
up?
then they'll only be able to sell
Wait,
back 404
I'm sorry, you're
hours
asking
because they
me,
already had
what was the
96
question?
hours.
Yes.
It's really hard to hear. I mean, it's constantly breaking
It
up
happened
and
to
it's
one of
very
our former
difficult to
employees. That's how I
follow.
found out.
I'm sorry.
He called me.
No, I'm
You still
sorry.
got it.
So what was the question?
Can you hear me, Kristen?
Yes.
On Article 23 about the drop, it references both the BCC's policy manual and the Florida statute. So we were just confirming whether or not the intent was that 500 hours versus 400 would be paid out. The statute's 500, correct? Okay, just go look it up. The statute is 500. I can verify the statute is 500.
And there she goes.
Somebody needs to wake up.
Oh,
I was like, are we done? Is that our
That's
time?
about right. That's about,
It's lunchtime for him.
no, man,
oh, I'm sorry.
I can't.
So we have snacks.
All right, so we'll let her look that up. All right.
Yeah, while Kristen looks that up, y'all want to look, the only other thing is, in terms of articles, it's appendix, it's assigned to pay.
On assignment page.
What article is that?
It's
Uh,
appendix C.
It's in the very back.
Yes.
I went to it now.
See?
Here we go.
It's right.
She'll still have a take-home pay now.
Take home.
Yes, Butler still have
Yes.
this.
You got one of those places.
Yeah.
And then there's language that was changed. Do you have questions? Comments?
I think we need to look at, because we're not doing first lieutenants anymore. That's been stricken, am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And they're getting the assignment pay. We have 2 K-9 take-homes now that we need to probably match what the sheriff's office is doing. They get $150 assignment pay, or no, 200 now.
They're both at 200.
200 a month assignment pay for that.
With a take home?
Yeah, because you have to realize I mean, granted, they get a vehicle, but they're having to care for that animal at home. There's wear and tear that animals will create. And then there's also the days that they are not working. They're getting 7 hours of comp time built in. Because they're still working on the K-9 even on their days off. There's a certain amount of training that's supposed to be done. One of our guys is getting a guide from, who is it, one of the big K-9 groups. They have it like down to the minute what a good officer who's got a K-9. It's not just, come on, let's go get in the car and go to work.
No, yeah, we're gonna, I would say the dollar.
$200?
I recognize
Yeah.
what those guys do.
Yeah.
I got it. That's
But-
why you see that, that's why it's in here, because it's never been there before.
Yeah.
So the non-take home is 150, take home is 200.
That's their back.
This one's saying that's what they're saying.
I won't give it a no.
This is the result.
I've only got 2 that got taken, I'll get 4.
They're getting 7 now.
Dana,
Yes, Sam?
Yeah, right now they're getting 4.
I am emailing you this provision, and if you look at 13C2,
Goes up to 7.
it states, and this was why both were referenced, each employee who elects to participate in drop may elect to receive a lump sum payment of accrued annual leave earned in accordance with agency policy upon beginning participation in drop. The accumulated leave payments certified to the division upon commencement of drop shall be included in the calculation of the member's average final compensation. Does that answer your question?
I'm sorry, so what part of 13 was that?
I'm gonna email this to you right now.
Okay, thank you,
So
Kristen.
believe, if they defer to whatever the agency, meaning our policy would be with regard to half of the hours.
So $400
We'll talk about that too, okay?
So, do you need me to pull the HR policy?
No, that is the right policy, Kristen. We were making sure that the statute stipulate, it was our understanding the statute stipulates 500.
I'm not seeing a number specified. If you're asking for what accrued annual leave is paid out,
Correct.
let me look further. This is a really long statutory provision.
Yeah, I was trying to find it on my phone.
Well, there's
Wait, are we there
specifics.
yet?
Annual leave can be earned over an accumulative period of time.
Yeah.
If you sell back holiday and comp time, it has to have been earned in the last 11 months, was the way it was when I retired. Because that was back when we were only getting 328.
It's just, it's the same. So our policy is referencing the annual leave part that's paid out, which is 400.
Right, that's correct.
But that's not the totality of all the hours that would be paid out, so.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
That's why
supposed
the
to be
statutory
statute,
reference
correct.
is helpful.
Yeah, Kristen, we figured it out.
Okay,
You were very helpful though, thank you, pointing to that. 'Cause- No, it was.
Took a minute.
All right, so we good?
Oh, yeah, on the drop deal.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, the drop were good.
Yeah.
Hey, I want you to know, the two take-home guys get an hourly rate additional.
Yeah.
That affects their pay. This is for the guys that respond, that's what the dogs from the kennel go on in the woods.
So,
That's why it says non-take-home.
yeah, so what kind of hourly rate are they getting in addition?
What do they
Straight
say?
time.
It's 10.5 hours per payday,
Yeah.
so for them it equates to more than,
So they're actually getting extra.
Yeah, and it's more than 200.
FLSA breaks it down as a, I think it's a quarter hour per
Right.
day. There's a calculation.
Yeah, we went through this whole thing.
Go back to Canaan.
Yeah, that's what.
That's 10 hours a week.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
10 hours a week.
It's bi-weekly.
But it says like 5 because it rounds up to
Oh,
4.5.
gotcha. It's not an
Because
assignment.
the way their CA has it, it was like 4.5 hours and it rounds it up to
So that this is good.
It should be. So I'm gonna say, yes, sir.
I would like, me and
Sorry.
Mr. Wilson, were talking that RCO pay and the MCO pay,
Mhm.
you have as an assignment. It's really not an assignment. At least I know the medical isn't, because I do the medical every day. It's not a day that I, like the CVS, the CVSA, that's every once in a while when there's something going on. But the medical correction officer, I do that every day. I have somebody in the clinic, I'm, doing wound cleanup, or me and Sergeant Moore rushing to to something, somebody gets hurt, and they may get hurt or something like that. I would like to see that go back to how it was
Promotion.
as a promotion, the RCO and the MCO, because it's something that we do every day, just like the K-9 does every day. It's the same thing with us. So, like FTO, I can see that, because they don't have a trainee with them every day.
It
So
originally
if you
was
considered
a,
it a promotion,
yes.
so like we're tying the rate to it, what rate would be tied?
It could be the, I think it added up to the same rate, they
But
just
you're just
added on.
asking
They just added on to a,
base?
yeah, exactly, because they just added on to the assignment pay as opposed to adding it to the dollar.
But that means that this would have to be effective every time that we got any type of COLA or anything like that, and that's what it changes this contract.
Yeah, because, we're doing the job day in and day out, it's not something, it's not something that.
The way it was originally done was the RCO was 10% above, base grade of RCO was 10% above base grade of CO. MCO was 15% above the RCO rate. So,
So I'm sorry, RCO was previously 10% above
A line officer.
line officer,
Okay.
and then MCO was 15%. So when you hired somebody in or promoted them from line officer to an RCO, they got a 10% increase. And it wasn't to the point where an assignment pay, you can move them, if you don't like them, you can move them.
So yours, okay, the differentiation too is not just that you can arbitrarily assign somebody, it's that they would be genuinely in that. So
Yeah, they
are you
would-
asking that it be as,
It is a professional classification,
yeah, that's what I was trying to get
because
at.
How is it not?
Well, well, you really want to talk apples to apples. There's people right now in other counties that draw emails and go work on the road right now that don't get a nickel tomorrow. That's their job. That's their job.
Well, we fought, and we.
No, I got all that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's not a professional position.
They don't
As far
do
as
it.
a classification recognized by the state of Florida, there's not a certification you get. It's a authorized position we have here.
I got a
They're-
certification for my.
No, I got the MCO.
Oh, okay.
I'm not talking about MCO, that's a little conversation.
And that was the whole reason we went to fight for it, because like you said, the state guys go out, but they're not doing what we're doing. They're not laying pipe, they're not, you understand?
No argument at all.
Okay.
But I want you to be cautious when you ask for that. Because a new guy coming on, getting X amount of percent, say you hire somebody day one, and I'll use Scott Lee as an example. I don't know, 19 years old, falls into an RCO position, all right? His 10% of his salary is not gonna equal this pay here.
Not starting out.
That's what I'm saying. So be careful what you're asking for, it's all throwing caution to wind. Because when you attach a percentage, if that moves up and down the scale as you go,
Well, and the other.
by the individual.
Yeah.
Right, and so, but if you take this, the 300, or the, I got it right here.
Thanks for your honor.
300 a month.
Right, so he's not getting, and there's a method behind the madness, and I don't want, if you, right now, yeah, the new guys are, it's helping them out. But in the long haul, they're gonna be losing if you catch them under it.
Well, what about a resolution in terms of, some of these are temporary assignments, and so if we kept it in this appendix and have temporary assignments versus permanent assignments with different stipulations based upon which they are. So like,
Where I'm getting hung up is same as you, this says temporary.
Oh, I see, I see.
And our sales is in a position.
Yeah.
right, so that's what they break it
Oh.
into temporary assignments, which means you could be allocated elsewhere, or a permanent assignment, which means
But
that.
still has, but still keep the stipend pay, something about?
Correct, so it's kind of like what we do
Baby
with
in the
fire.
cake.
It's kind of like we do with fire, what I'm saying. You get a paramedic, or, I'm saying we do give different incentive pays based on permanent position.
What I can do is I
The
can
problem
actually,
we've got is temp.
I
To
can
me,
hire-
I see exactly what you're saying.
Temporary versus
You're not
permanent.
temporary, if you're RCO,
Yeah.
you're.
But my thing is too,
I'll
I'm
write the
working
job
overtime.
description, be created, and then we can work the particulars of this dollar value into it. That way it's an actual.
And that-
Description.
And they can only be removed for just cause.
Not
Yeah.
like that, but if I'm working overtime, so if I work somewhere, I have to use my EMT skills, I'm not getting paid. I'm just getting that monthly thing. You know what I'm saying? So that percentage or that dollar amount doesn't change on the overtime that I'm giving. And I cannot choose to use my MCO when I can or not, because by state law, if I'm there, I have to get
Yeah,
my
this
hands
needs to
dirty.
be cleaned up.
Well, I see what you're saying. We'll look at it, because it's kind of even like the corrections officer progression. It's almost like progression is permanent, and it nourishes your base, not just the cycle.
Yeah, because the progression does enhance your base.
Correct.
And for this,
So just.
whatever your
RCA,
hourly
RCA.
rate is,
Yes.
it adds into your overtime base. I think that solves the issue. Because, I mean, there's times, I mean, if you're looking at $1.73 an hour that you're not getting paid time and a half for, and you're working Hurricane Sally and you've worked an extra 25 to 30 hours, that's a chunk of change.
All assignment pays for it.
It's got to be.
All assignment pays rolled into overtime calculation. So when you see overtime on your paycheck, you'll see an overtime line item, and you'll see an FLSA line item. That FLSA line item is
Equates for it.
manually calculating that additional pay that you have to roll it into your overtime line item.
I didn't know that.
Okay, are they, now, is their calculation done at the camp and sent to you?
Yes, the payroll man.
Yeah, done at the camp and then sent to you? Y'all just make sure it's that, and if there's an issue, you call me, I get up with Nikki and we'll make sure it's
Yeah, I mean,
correct.
I can sit down with one of you, I'm happy to do it, and actually go line item on the
Yes, ma'am.
pay stubs. We did that for the fire department one year, and kind of did a line item run through of their pay stubs to
Okay.
explain all the different calculations.
Great, thank you.
That's why it's not a lump sum once a month, it's the hourly rate, is that correct?
Their assignment pay, I believe, is a flat, but in the overtime is calculated as an additional line item.
Okay, I have to check, yeah, because we get it split, so we get it every 2 weeks.
What was
Pay
your
all
name?
this shit back.
Santos, Jason Santos.
But there are so many people that don't look at their check stubs.
Yeah,
Can we
that's
talk
true,
about that?
that's true. Sometimes I'm guilty of that too. I ain't gonna-
Or they don't listen to their rep when they're on workman's
Yeah,
comp.
okay.
Don't catch that.
So, as it stands now, it looks like our appendix C, we're gonna change the language there. Appendix, Article 13, Article 17 with the day of rest. Article 19, we gotta make some changes to, but it looks like Article 4, 5, 7, 14, and 23 could be signed, and then 19 and 11 just need the reference to the reimbursement taken out. So long and short of that, I can get you clean copies. If y'all are good with that.
Jim, you said 13 and 17 are the ones that need revision? That's what my notes have.
Yes, 13, 17, and Appendix C.
Okay, what if, did you say 19?
So, yes, 11 and 19 do need that, a small revision to take out the reimbursement.
Okay.
18 is still on the table in terms of, we need to look at their 3 hour versus 2 hour. 17 is still on the table for the day of rest.
Okay.
So, you know, what was that, 86 certified, December,
How do we get like Santa Cruz?
If people
How we
stop
get that
breaking
Santa
the
Rosa?
law.
Then we have 120 certified COs,
Who, Santa Rosa?
December,
Talking about.
not CI, sheriff.
CI's got several hundred.
So Alan, would you be good if we, the article, we take this article, let Bill sign it, and you sign these, and then we can come back, or we can talk about the wage proposal?
I think my guys want to see the wage proposal before they authorize me to sign anything.
Hey, we just went through all this in the just for
I understand.
We're gonna go back to the other articles and make, you know, some changes. So there's still stuff on the table. You still got chips. It would be helpful if we could get some of these knocked out.
We're not saying we're not going to,
I know, you're holding us hostage.
but look who's talking.
Sir. Would you be okay if you sign these? Because again, we still have five others that are open outside of salaries.
Let's take a quick break.
Okay. I want to take 5, 10, 15.
Ken?
Stop, no.
I think we're scheduled to be done at noon, that's why I was.
Noon
12:30.
Noon 30.
All right.
Yeah, I talked real loud. Don't let me down, Crystal.
Okay, so,
Like to buy a valve.
Can we buy a valve?
go for it.
Our concerns are, y'all are wanting us to sign everything that y'all want to sign, but we haven't gotten any positive feedback other than you're taking it under advisement for the things that we want, like the additional language on the DOR. Pay has always been our big deal. Yeah, I think we made some headway today, shown some good faith, but we still would like to see 21, y'all's proposal, and see where we're at.
You said 21.
Well, whatever.
It's wages, yeah.
Yeah, our-
Well, and to be clear, like we didn't integrate it into the article itself, because again, we were gonna propose the actual changes first.
Yeah.
And I understand what you're saying, but I think that the articles that we just discussed through, I think that that was like a mutually beneficial thing. So I don't think it's fair to say what we wanted, what ours wanted. We still have stuff on the table, so I think the good faith effort would really be to come to that agreement and truly TA the articles that we just went through line, by line essentially, and then discuss the wage component. And there's still other open articles. And we've written, taken the notes, and we'll go back and take all of that into consideration and come back and present with you all again on this for, 3 articles in Appendix C, and we were in agreement with pretty much everything that y'all had asked for anyways, on those articles, pretty much everything.
As in pretty much, which articles are you talking about?
Sorry. Sure. So is she not? Sorry, scroll. What did you say, Alan?
You said you're pretty much in agreement with some other articles. Which ones?
Well, I can't speak for the whole team, that was my point. They're the other 4 articles that we made, made suggestions to, that's something that we're gonna have to take back to discuss.
And then how long is it gonna be before we meet again?
We'll
Another
schedule
month
it
and a
right
half, 2
now.
months?
Okay, we don't have, well, that's my point. If we can say that we've TA'd all these articles, and I know that we only have 4 articles to discuss, then we can, say, hey, we need to get this done. Versus saying, no, we still have all these open articles.
Yeah, we've been trying to get it done since 2019.
I know, but we're here now.
So which ones are you
Alright,
wanting
so
us to
that's what I'll do.
sign?
I have them all printed out, nice and clean, and made the changes that we
7,
discussed.
13, and 23.
So we made changes to Articles 7, 11, and 19 per the discussion that we had. Okay. Any copies of your own? Be Alex.
This is one.
Oh, yeah. Well, what? If it doesn't happen at the county, I don't really know.
You don't, I know,
I really don't.
I don't know about, open my email and it popped up.
That's uniform and the drawing. It's not in the contract.
Well, I was gonna ask y'all about the drop now that we had, the explanation of it, because I had printed that out before.
So we're going to 500, correct?
500.
Y'all suggestion of 500, well, actually,
State statute says you can sell back up to 500.
500, correct.
And that's the minimum amount. I got it right here.
Statute says 500, our policy has 400 for annual leave and 500 for PTO.
Jana, if you look at the other attachment I just sent, then you can read what the provision says that's in the Florida Administrative Code. Apparently, only up to 500 can be considered as part of your, calculating your, whatever the terminology is. Do you see what I said?
Your final compensation,
Yes.
average final,
Yes,
AFC.
exactly. So,
This is a little
So-
sketchy.
but our BCC policy maxes out annual leave at 400. So it says, if any single lump sum annual leave payment made anytime during a member's employment exceeds 500 hours, only a maximum of 500 hours of such annual leave payment shall be considered as compensation. Accumulated annual leave payments that may be included in the average final compensation are limited to a combined total of 500 hours.
And that's our assumption. You can't get, you're not gonna get average in your high five anything more than 500 hours. So if you're making,
Right.
if you're making $30 an hour, that's $15,000, you get $3,000 a year added to your annual final compensation, so.
So, but and I'm trying to look at I've got our BCC policy pulled up, and Jana, is it consistent across the board for BCC that 400 is the max for
Yes.
annual?
Yes, 400 is the max for annual and 500 is the max for PTO.
But you can combine holiday comp into that also
Correct.
to
That
make
was
the
the point I
500.
was making earlier, is that it actually could total up to 500 per the statute, which is why both are referenced.
Other items. You don't have to remember what year it is.
Yeah, and so under the leave payout, under the drop policy leave payout, it says employees may sell back all or a portion of their annual or PTO leave up to the maximum limit upon entering drop. If they do, then FRS will use the leave payment to determine the final calculation of the employee's retirement benefit. And then you may also sell it back upon separation from drop up to the allowed limits, or use the accrued leave to provide a terminal leave period subject to the approval of the department director.
That's if you have sick leave, so if you have a bunch of sick leave or
I have
ERP,
it.
which is like a sick leave.
Well, you
pay.
can't, I don't think you can use sick leave in the drop, but, I think to solve the issue for this, since is that, put a line in here that, because the contract can supersede the county policy, for the purpose of this, that along with the 400 hours of annual leave, that the employee be allowed to utilize holiday comp to make the 500 hours. Now, I think there are some caveats in the state that says it has to be earned within the last 12 months. That's what Gerlinda,
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
yeah, Gerlinder, who used to be the HR director for, or not HR director, but the retirement person at the sheriff's office. She knew more about it than anybody I know. She's good people. I had a fire marshal, works with the intern investigator, somebody
With the
contract.
holiday comp.
You could earn, well,
Number 4.
if
So
you
annual
earn
leave would be
100,
one, you know, annual leave would be
Where
400, the
you
holiday
take somebody
comp
off of it, or they die, you draw 66%. Make out a little bit more than option 3. Whoever wrote that option was smoking crack.
Wasn't there with two, was it?
Huh?
Wasn't there with two, was it?
Can't say. I like her. She gets it.
I knew she got it.
Just change.
What? Oh, that's when you have 25?
That's all.
Yeah.
Just ask them about it, about our county.
yes.
We're kind of mad.
Actually, stability. Correct, but that's just the state's law. The question is,
But that's what he said.
No, I'm not talking about that. I think we follow the state statute. And 5 months left. Yeah.
we'll just do the math.
I'm not sure what the county's policy is, if you pay out their max on annual leave, and then in the next 5 years, they accrue more annual leave, are you gonna pay them that when they go, or they got a terminal
Yes,
next
they
year?
did, yes, that was the point, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, we're paying.
That's the point we're making.
Now, it's benefits the employee.
Yeah,
So if we change it to say, because what was added is as provided, and it referenced the policy, so if we just say as authorized by the Florida statute, and the chapters of what's quoted, so take out the policy part, that is, so it would be 500.
Yeah.
All right, and then, but now, Kristen, didn't you have to change that in Article 13 or something? There was something-
The statute doesn't specify exactly how much an agency is gonna pay out. It just says that if there's more than 500, then that's only, I'm sorry?
Your turn. We want to hear what you're saying.
The FRS cap just means that's the maximum they're gonna allow for the purpose of calculating what your compensation is gonna be for your retirement benefit. I don't read that statute to say what the cap has to be in terms of what an agency is going to pay out.
Yeah, but if we say as authorized by the statute, and the statute authorizes up to 500, then we would match that. That was what I was saying.
Is that what?
Does that mean that we're gonna pay out for 500 hours?
Correct.
Okay? Because that conflicts with our county policy, we may need to clarify that somewhere.
Yeah, that's what Nikki's saying.
So not to
Yeah.
exceed.
I don't think that's clear just by referencing the statute.
I know that's what I'm thinking about too. Because they can only approve up to 400.
Current
But-
status quo. Yeah, so until this is agreed.
We could
Yeah,
just
it-
increase our.
So Janet, you're saying that we would allow that the employee upon retirement to be sell back to get paid for up to 500 hours that they have accrued annually.
Correct.
Well, it's not all totally annually,
Yeah, it wouldn't all be
Yeah, I would
annual.
just say, yeah, accrued.
unless you want to just make the cap for corrections 500 hours and that solves the whole issue.
Well, I would actually like to take the whole county to PTO, so we don't do this whole sick leave, annual leave. And that way, I mean, PTO is, 500 already in terms of cap what annual leave is for. I don't know.
That's a whole other.
So if we
surprise.
change that to 500, the language in there to state that specifically that it will pay out 500 hours of their accrued leave, excluding sick leave.
Because we understand you're not going to pay more than 400 hours of annual leave, and the rest will have to come out of holiday comp.
Yeah.
It's a simple
If
fix.
it's on the books.
If
Which
it's on the
is
book,
what-
yeah,
that's
you
actually
can't
what
manufacture it.
already, what you
Well, you
said
can't.
earlier. So the
Not
400
legally.
annual leave, and use the holiday comp time as well earned within the past year.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Okay,
So
got it.
we'll make that.
We'll make that change. Do y'all have questions about any of the others? Over yonder?
Oh.
I know, right?
Right. What am I trying to say about this?
So are there any more questions about any of those? We're good with those? You assign for us, Alan?
You good with those, Al?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we got enough.
That's what I'm giving an example.
That's all.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
In the
Thanks,
words,
guys.
in the words of Jerry Maguire,
Show me.
I know, well, okay.
That's what we're
You
gonna
got it. Yes, you got it,
I'm a nice guy, but I'm losing patience.
but, no, don't lose
I'm trying to figure out,
patience.
I'm trying to figure out how to hand it to you all at one time. So I can hear everyone's reaction. How could you blow it up on the screen?
We can't, half of it can't see that far.
Actually,
in
I'm
my
gonna pull
40s,
up on the screen and
yeah.
get Daniel while
I
you're
forgot
handing
mine.
out.
Yeah, because we're gonna toggle.
He hadn't used his
We're gonna
glasses.
toggle between a couple of screens, so we're gonna explain a couple of different things to you. So, you know, we've offered other things before. We tried to offer the, you know, to existing folks, the booths. We did try and do the beginnings. We have the proposal from October 22nd. So we can explain the difference in the hours, what we've got for the starting pay. And then, for most of you in the room, I think that the paragraph under the salaries is the one that would be the one that probably.
Yes, 16. 16. That's today's base rate.
There she was.
Okay.
I think the academy, the trainees are like 13 something.
Can y'all see that?
I think we make it bigger. Okay, so one of the things I want to talk, so y'all know that the state is doing the $1,000 extra compensation, right? We don't have any way statutorily to do that, but I'm gonna let Nikki explain what she knows so far about it.
So the budget that, when she's talking about $1,000, she's talking about what this thing says signed. The budget has not been signed yet, but we do have some information that we've received, and I can read it to you directly from the law itself, but it's, there are gonna be some eligibility requirements. You have to be employed as of March 1st, 2020, and you still have to be employed as of the date that it rolls out. You have to have no disciplinary action. That includes no written reprimands, no suspensions, no dismissals, no involuntary or voluntary demotions. So the Department of Economic Opportunity will submit the plan to the Executive Office of the Governor's Office, the Chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee, the Chair of the House Appropriations Committee by October 1st, 2021. The Department of Economic Opportunity is authorized to submit budget amendments pursuant to Chapter 216 as necessary for the distribution of funds to applicable state and local entities, which means we will not get those funds until after October 1st, 2021. As soon as we receive the funds, it's saying that they must be distributed as soon as possible. So that should give us time to put a plan together on how the funds will be distributed.
Now, that's the $1,000 plus 7.5 FICA that will be
FICA,
included
correct.
in the one.
Yes.
They're not including, or income tax on it.
So
that's
federal
statewide.
taxes will come out.
Yeah, that's
FICA
what I'm saying, they're not
taxes
including income tax.
Correct.
But they are graciously gonna pay.
7.65. I didn't read, there was 4 or 5 paragraphs I just read.
Yeah,
But the thing is this, we have been trying, and Kristen and Jana we have been trying for a very long time to figure out how to do a one-time extra compensation for you all, like what the governor did. And so I think, and Kristen can correct me if I'm wrong, I guess unless there's a waiver of statute, like we go and ask, since we're a constitutional county, for a waiver of statute, we're not gonna be able to do that. So when we get these funds that are coming down from like ARPA and stuff like that, I mean, we've even run it to ground on the federal level to see if it can supersede the state statute so that we can take it out of the ARPA, and we can't. From what we can tell, we haven't gotten all the guidance from the feds yet. But, we haven't stopped trying to find a way to do that. But the way, and Kristen can correct us if I'm wrong, but the reason why we can do a recruitment incentive is because it's before they become an employee. But this is the thing, I have to do it all at once too. I can't even do like $1,000 and then another $1,000 6 months later, because once they're an employee, they're an employee. So there's that. Number two, the other thing is, I wanna explain the pay scale and what the COLA looks like. So we recently went to a new pay scale. And, the pay scale, because the current, the Constitution changed, and Kristen and Jana and Nikki keep me straight on this, but when the Constitution changed, to go to $10 to $15 an hour, you have to do it by, 20, 25, something like that. So, we currently build, because the first year was on a $10, the first year is the $10 minimum wage. I have asked for permission to go to the $11 as this year, okay? So we're gonna jump to the $11 as the minimum wage on our pay scale. And then after that, we would do what we're calling forced to scale, which means we'll give you some examples of where you may be on the scale. Then you go to the next, the right step, pay step and pay grade, and then you get 2% on top of that. So that should help with compression. That should help us not have a lot of compression. So we want to show you we want to give you a couple of examples of what that looks like.
So if I'm hearing you right, because I've got a copy of it.
I know, I'm sorry, it's teeny, I know. She's
And
just-
I only wear one contact, so.
And that's actually not, that's based off the $10
That's a
minimum
good
wage.
idea.
Yeah.
When we did the $11, we didn't just change the $11 there and
Yeah.
leave the scale.
The
We
whole
changed the
scale.
entire scale.
But what you're looking at doing is, if an employee is between the pay grades, moving him to that plus,
That's called the forced to scale.
yeah, plus a step, or 2%.
Yes, then they would get their 2%. So.
So are there,
So let's.
they're gonna be
let's show
2%
you.
between the steps.
Yes, sir. So let's, all right, open it up.
I
and
like
let me
Santa
show
Rosa's
you.
better.
So does anybody know their hourly like so well that,
Good.
Okay, typical. I know you know.
1926.
okay, let's look at 19.
Wait, hold on, what's your rank?
CO.
Your corrections officer?
So look at letter J. It looks like a B1.
I need their pay scale, give me a second,
Oh, pay band.
all right, so corrections officer, you have over, yeah, so
Yeah, it's
B1, you
B1J,
said
it looks like.
19,
B1J, okay?
19.
what's your current rate, 19 what?
26.
All right,
26.
move your, okay.
So you go to 1960 per hour,
So, wait. He goes to 1960, that forces him to scale.
that's the force to scale.
So you're forced to scale, plus you get a 2%. So his new number is $19.99 an hour.
Already like it's 1999. So effectively, you just got a 4% increase.
Why are you saying that?
I didn't see it though.
It's a 2%.
It's a 2%.
Don't
It's
sell
a
it
force to
anything other
scale.
than that.
I know, my bad. It's a force to scale. The force to scale will vary depending on your current rate. So that's why there's not a true percentage to link to everybody, because it will vary based off person. But what we will not do is allow
not go
anyone to
down.
go down.
Yeah, so
Not
like the
even a penny.
1926 did not go down to 1922. He went 1926, yes, you always move up.
There'll be some that just fall flat right there. And then
Yeah,
they
they're-
go to the next two, get 2%.
Yes,
There's not very many. We've
There's
already
not
run it.
very many, we've already run it. So if you're at 1959 and you go to 1960, I mean, but there aren't a lot of those. But that's what's to help with the compression. Yeah, so at the top, you want to show them the top
Yeah,
row?
so you can see the steps.
So see the steps, see what happens? You have a pay grade on the left side, and then you have a step pay, so it's 2% between each. So you see this one, A1, step A starts at $11. So next year, that's gonna be a 12. The next year will be 13, I mean, who knows, they may tell us to be at 15 next year, I don't know. But I went on and moved just from 10 to 11 the first year because I would prefer us to know what our liability is. then if you look at the last line, what I did was, if you agree, that the county agrees to a wage reopener 1 year from the date of the contract when it's ratified. That way we just reopen we reopen it every year. so
That's
that
already
we
in the
can-
contract,
Well,
wage openers.
Yeah, we're saying
Yeah.
we're keeping in the contract that there's a wage reopener every year. So this is where we are today. A year from today, we might be somewhere else to where we can offer additional, or we'll have to evaluate it.
We'll just go to effect.
With the
Okay.
contract ratified.
so, yes.
Oh, yes.
On ratification of the
Yeah.
contract? That's what I say, I mean,
You have
it
to-
has to, you have to wait till the fiscal year.
Fiscal year for the-
I just wanted to make sure, because if I
Okay.
tell somebody that, they'll run with it.
I would say at this point, I would be willing to run some numbers and see what we can do. I mean, we're
To make it effective as soon as.
correct.
So you're saying make it effective prior to the fiscal year?
I'm saying if you will take this as a serious consideration, I will absolutely do it as soon as I can. I'll take that into consideration.
And this is just for corrections, or you guys are doing this, or you said you're doing this across the
Well-
whole county?
I have to get permission.
Yes.
In the budget to do it, but, if you do it now, the rest of the county wouldn't get it until the
Now,
fiscal year.
just me asking, would there be steps, like after the first year, would there be another step on that?
Well, so if the board that's why we wanted to go to this type of pay scale.
Yeah, that's not up to
Because
date.
we can demonstrate to the board what the cost is
That's a
every
dollar
time there's an
problem.
increase. We really didn't have any way to do that, and this is very methodical. It's a 2% every time. So let's say the board 1 year says, no, you can only do a 1%, right? Well, then we know where it falls, right? We can easily divide this, so it's like a step, step A.5,
Yes.
B.5, just a half step or something.
And it is what you said, so watch, I mean, this is like fun to do.
Now, if,
Watch, if we go to 12 next year, it automatically
It's just the entire
shifts.
scale.
so effectively what this is gonna do is they're gonna stop the county commission from giving a 3% COLA.
No, they can, that's what we just
Yeah,
said, we can
it's
do a
a-
half step.
Yeah.
So if they give something
It's
in
still in the
it,
salary article that y'all get what the county gets.
yeah, if the county gives something in addition to this, will our guys be eligible for it?
It's in the
Yeah,
contract,
it's
it's in the
Y'all
contract.
get what the county would get.
Yeah, because what?
In addition,
In addition.
Yeah, in addition to what we're looking at right now. So if the county comes up where they graciously decide to vote for a 3% across the board, then these guys would get this plus 3%.
If the county wins the lottery.
Well,
Yeah, no,
you're
yes.
actually gonna be in a better shape next year. I mean, the writing's on the wall that it's gonna be better next year because you've got residuals of over $2 million sitting in some of the accounts now. I know some of it can't be used for that, but.
well, I mean, yes, but the
Some
other
of
thing
it's
is I got
reimbursements
stuff falling
from-
apart everywhere that I have to pay for. I
Yeah.
got sinkholes in 97.
Well, that's why these guys are here. They fill in those sinkholes. These
guys
guys save y'all millions of dollars a year. But,
Yeah, but so the other thing is, we've already, the reason why we did this scale too was to demonstrate to the board what that's gonna look like when it goes to 15. Because it's very easy to show now that we all have an obligation.
So you're saying this is gonna relieve, when it goes up to 15, it'll relieve the compression?
Just stop
Yeah,
it.
because again,
Yeah, this
watch.
stops, that was part of our problem, was not
magic
being able to
trick.
I
demonstrate
agree.
compression.
Look at the magic trick. All right, it's at 11 now.
Well,
Look, you're happy with this, ain't you?
Oh, it just switched. Look, I can toggle back and forth.
So, and I got a question for, if I can. So, B1 is a line officer, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you got a guy that's been out here for 20 years, he's still, he hasn't moved up, but he already maxed, is over what the maximum is. what are we gonna do?
Boy, how did you remember that?
Come on, why
Come
would you
on.
ask relevant questions?
I mean, I'm, yeah.
He's looking over for himself.
No, so but that's actually already the case that exists in certain situations, and the CBA would supersede the max of the range, to be perfectly honest with you. So we would still, you would still move.
Okay.
We'll create a new alphabet. We'll start AA, BBB. We'll start
You're
stuttering.
like Kern Case last year.
I'm just speaking for those that.
No, that's a good question. It's something that we talked about as well beforehand. It's a really good question.
Okay.
All right, so I know it's a lot to digest. What we
Yes.
can do is we can print this. We can print one for you.
Oh, yeah, hey, but don't we have that big, the big paper, what's it called? Not little?
Is it the 11 by 17?
No, it's bigger. Yeah, it's not, yeah, what is it called?
I don't know, big sheet. Poster.
Legal size?
No, it's like poster.
No,
like
it's
poster
literally
board.
like, do we have still have some? Will you go, what tray is it loaded to, exactly for lunch?
We would like for y'all to look at, instead of a 2%,
Give me a minute, I gotta load it.
price that out and see what that comes out. They're used to getting 3%, you start throwing 2%, they're gonna think it's gonna be a hard sell.
Yeah, but you have to understand that they're being forced to scale along with the 2%, so they're already gonna get,
It'll get short of a percentage just by that sheet right there. Like we just calculated out, that's almost a 4% move.
For the individual that we use the example of.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I said. That's gonna vary.
This kiddy's out of
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying it's gonna vary.
We're still staying way behind the percentage of minimum wage increase.
but you can't say that this isn't a lot of forward progress.
Oh, it's forward progress.
I
And also,
agree,
yeah, I was
But
saying,
you
we
gotta
really are
realize-
trying to do the right thing, but we can only operate within the bounds of what we have.
Yeah.
Is it good? Yeah, straightforward.
Yeah, so we'll be happy to print this, and then that way you can take it, you guys can look at it, your team can look at it, find where they plot themselves on the scale, plot the, yeah.
Yeah, because we're gonna have to have some educational days, whenever we finally agree to whatever this is. Where we sit in the break room or something at the jail, and
Yeah.
people can walk up to us, and
Yeah, they can
I'll
just
come in
do the percentage or something.
if y'all don't mind. And I can sit there and they can come to me and we'll plot them.
Do the same thing at camp too.
Yeah, and we do the same thing in camp. Be a lot easier in camp because there's a lot less people. But, yeah. And if I have to walk up that ramp I heard about, I might have to have that electric stretcher.
What in the world? What are you picking on them about? Okay.
Yeah, the connector hallway.
I can't wait to see.
If I have to walk down, I might have to have that electric.
I've heard about
But think about it.
Incentive.
Think about it, when you're done, they can just
Hey,
leave
wait,
you
what are you
right.
talking about, health incentive? You really, what?
No, it's new employee
The,
orientation process.
The chief just said he's gonna give them a 15% health incentive.
That's what I said. We're gonna have to walk.
No physical. I'm gonna tell you.
So-
The
they-
physical
they walk
agility is
now.
if you can push a
Trust
chow
me.
cart
We're getting
uphill.
ready to walk. What's that?
The physical agility, if you can push a chow cart
No, you
uphill.
don't have to, you just gotta tell the inmates push.
Yeah, they let it go.
The jobs don't change. This is for the inmate though. So the jobs don't change.
What's the angle on that? I haven't been in it, so I've just heard.
It's not that bad.
It's manageable. And they're working on electric means moving cars.
Oh, yeah. I'm just waiting for them to wash one of those new electric chow carts with water when it's plugged in.
Well, they will.
Oh, I know.
You could have a mop bucket race down there.
I don't think I miss anywhere.
Okay, Alan, I would like to discuss this next Thursday, if you guys are available to. I understand you're not gonna have every guy have a chance, and every officer have a chance to look at this in a week, but I'd like your team and your your leadership team to look at it.
Thank you, Mayor.
And the reason why I'm saying next Thursday is we don't have committee of the whole, so I actually have a gap in my calendar for like the first time ever. I mean, if you're not available and y'all can't do it, I get it. I'm just trying to give you a,
I'm available.
And you asked us if we can go back, we told you we make it work.
so 8 a.m. or 8:30, is 8:30 good for you guys?
8:30.
8:30.
Thursday.
8 a.m., okay, we need to do, we want part of your,
Here.
yeah.
I need 8 AM.
8 a.m.
Oh, yeah, we don't ever need to, we never.
On 13th, correct?
That would be
You
13.
keep messing around, I'll call your mama.
8 a.m. And you can get, y'all can get it advertised or get it our team to give it. We'll see what happens, but Kristen, we're talking about meeting next Thursday at 8 a.m.
Wait, for how long? Okay.
That's why I said, when she said 8:30, I said 8 AM.
Okay, so we can say 8 to 9:30. I mean, I feel like we're close on so much. I understand the numbers aren't right where you want them, but I do believe we're close on a lot of other things.
So while we were out, y'all did not discuss the DOR? Is
No,
that-
I know what language I want to ask you about, but I need to talk to them about it, see if they agree.
That's what you should have done.
You're solving the world's crisis.
I was about to say, I mean, probably.
Look, I have 255 unread emails right now.
If you're
I know
solving the
that's not
world's
your problem,
crisis,
but
it
it
would be
is
the
my
captain.
problem.
Captain can solve the problems.
That's only at 151.
Then ask, it's easier to ask for forgiveness
No,
than
and
permission,
John,
trust me.
I do want to say something else too about this. I understand that these numbers, some of these are some big numbers, you know, $5,000 signing bonus and stuff like that. But we've already discussed, there's 86 at Walton and 120 at Santa Rosa, okay? We have 400,
417, sir.
yeah, 300 and something, right? So those are big numbers for us too. But I would rather us get people that want to come and stay and make a career than try and get people to just fill a spot.
Well, remember, those numbers that you just gave are allotted positions, that's not filled positions.
Excuse me?
The 400? you have-
417.
Right, we're at
417
300.
corrections officers.
Right, we're at 300 and something that are filled spots, like 326.
No, counting the camp, yes.
Pardon me?
I said counting the camp, you might have that.
They're virtually, yeah.
Yeah. But you take the camp away.
Well, we count the camp.
I know, but when I'm looking at security of that new building,
Uh-huh.
and I got people that have been given a 2-hour tour and no training, and we're fixing to put inmates in there, that scares me.
That's not accurate. We're not, we got planning based training and all kinds of stuff.
They don't show up, they don't show up. We
Jail training.
They
Yeah.
should,
We got
if
training.
you got training days and they're not showing up, then that's,
That's correct.
We're training on shift too.
That's
The
right.
jail's completely empty. We have no intention of putting inmates over there too.
Right, so you're
Both
gonna-
So
on
are
training and staffing.
yeah, I just have to make sure.
Are we good for, did we book it? No?
Yeah, you did. Missed it.
No,
8:30,
not this week.
13.
See, y'all's muster day was today, wasn't it?
No, this is on
When's your RTO muster?
Thursday.
Thursdays.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
We can hold the muster again. I mean, we just have to get with the, yeah, Sergeant Moore.
spot.
Yeah, chiefs and
Oh,
others.
the date?
Yeah.
Get together, the RC.
Could have wrote that in.
Explain this,
Yes, just talk.
No, you can't.
huh?
He said she
Do it
could.
in reverse. At the end of the day,
Yeah,
everybody run the cruise
Yeah.
and have that conversation after the fact. Get 120 out.
So are we good for next week
Yes, ma'am.
to discuss the other 4 articles and give y'all time to digest the,
Easy.
super large pay scale?
This year,
Yeah, no.
See? Hey, no one else has this paper, okay?
Well-
HR, listen.
Well, one of the reasons I'm getting at that is a big ticket item is that day of rest. And we're not getting any guidance where I could sit down and say, you're getting this, plus you're gonna maintain your day of rest. You'll have the option to work it if you choose to.
I think that we can call this, and I think I can give you enough that you can, based on what you can say.
I mean, you can email me an answer to that.
All right, give us 10 minutes. We're gonna go talk about this. Yeah, okay.
Hey, Kristen, we're going to caucus for 10 minutes. With us.
It's time to raid the room.
I was gonna say, shut the door. No, don't do that.
That's so slick. She shut it as you said it too. Like, that was good. Should be a CEO.
Do you want me to open it?
Should be a CEO.
I was in the military.
Yes, so was I.
We had a snack cake.
Hey, just take your food, please.
That's it.
Pop that thing.
This you got the problem out there?
This foot.
Have you shut it?
I'm back, sorry.
Can you shut it off?
Yeah, that's still running.
Yes, sir.
See, you know it.
We're live. Okay, so we went back and looked at it and the language that y'all proposed, and so this is what we're proposing. And the 17.03 is adding
Day of rest.
Day of rest. So it's the parties agree to maintain day of rest, DOR. This provision will be reviewed upon each wave reopening.
And let me tell you why. We're going to Kronos. Kronos is gonna give you a better,
Tracking and data.
a better opportunity for analysis. It's gonna give your employees a better opportunity for analysis of what, DOR may be costing them or not costing them.
They're
I'm
not,
talking about
we don't have
individual.
Kronos now?
Not, not,
Yeah,
not
not
the
the
way.
same, not what we have, but we've got timekeeping payroll, yeah. We're gonna have nitty gritty granular analysis. So basically, when the wage register comes open, we'll discuss it again and we'll have data.
Give us about 10 minutes. Christian's got mail.
You know, if I do wanna say this again, if we could figure a way to supersede the state law on the extra compensation,
We really don't want a bonus.
I understand that you
We just
don't,
want to help
We-
anyway.
but
Yeah,
I
I
also,
know.
I understand that you don't, and I understand why, but I also have 2,000 employees that I'm trying to look out for, and that would be the quickest way that I would be able to help every employee at one time.
My observations for what's gonna happen real estate market wise is next year we'll have a better year because there are no houses on the market right now. What is selling at a higher rate. Ad valorem taxes will be up on those units that did sell. So that will help in those collections. Some of the houses hopefully will start seeing some repairs. A lot have been repaired, some haven't been repaired. We're more fortunate than Panama City because I know a lot of y'all have ridden around through there. I go through there all the time. And
Absolutely.
it's still devastated. We were very fortunate, even though we were hit hard.
But I do want to mention one other thing though, because we will get the numbers June 1st, from the property appraiser. But as we all know, residential is smoking hot, right? Yes, no.
But that's, and back several years ago, we had a lame duck that talked the commission into reducing ad valorem, and it's been a downward slide ever since. We had the glut there for about 2 years, and then we wound up with the short sale market.
Well, so let me just finish what I was gonna say. So two things. One of them is, so the commercial market is not red hot.
No.
If you're retail and some of the other larger places, it's not red hot. And so remember, it's a mixed basket when we get the property valuation. We're sitting on 19.5 billion right now in terms of gross taxable value. I would love that number to go up and be over 20, right? That's
Yeah.
what helps us generate revenue. But the second part of it, I would say, based on what you just said, so we've done an analysis with our new budget system that shows, year over year, what the county is losing. And I'm just saying, this is for our analysis. Because of that reduction, that 2 mills reduction, we're losing $27 million a year in academic taxation based on the gross taxable value. So I can show you, and I'm happy to show you all that analysis.
Oh, no, I knew it was a bad deal when they did it, but when you have somebody that goes up there in a public meeting, it's like the old rumor mill. It left that chamber and it was in Century and back before they got out of the meeting. They're gonna drop the mill, it's 2 mills. And I had one commissioner call me and tell me I got a vote or they'll run me out of Canton. And I'm like, Kevin, another one. But
It
a lot
was
of pressures on it.
I understood.
And it's not just residential pressure, it's,
But I just want you to know, I mean, so that is, that's also part of our analysis and the story that we're trying to tell is this county's operating at almost a $30 million less delta. I mean, when I was on the commission, we were at 8 mills.
yep. If it wasn't for LOST, we'd be sunk. And might I remind you, we have participated in that every year.
Thank you, we appreciate it. Well, I appreciate y'all's consideration. I do think we got a lot done today, and I really do appreciate it. Okay? All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thanks, lady.
Sorry.